Record. So you can edit it afterwards, Agnieszka. It'll just be an audio file.
Hello, welcome to Jasmine Winter podcast. I have two names. One is Jasmine Winter, another Agnieszka Narloch. So I'm just letting you know, because John Paul is used to my old name, Agnieszka, so he will not remember that I'm Jasmine now.
I will remember. I'll definitely remember.
Hi, John.
Hi there.
John Paul Mason, founder of Breathing Journey. Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you.
John Paul has been facilitating breathwork as well as teaching and training in it since 2008.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
In Scotland, but he works also online, and you can catch him also online. So you can go to his website, Breathing Journey. And today we're gonna chat. It's gonna be a little bit like an interview, a little bit like a chat, and see how it goes. I have questions ready.
Oh, excellent.
And thank you so much for being here.
Totally my pleasure, Jasmine. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah, very much.
So my first idea about this interview or our talk was to talk about trauma and how to release it and how to move on, how to get better. But actually, when I started thinking a bit more deeply about that, I thought that I'd like to expand this a bit, this topic, and make it more general. Because I think that we actually live in a traumatized society, and many people don't realize that we all been through difficult circumstances, and we all hold in our bodies a lot of tension and things that kind of blocking us to move forward, like frozen emotions, basically from the past. And I thought that I'd like to talk a bit about how to live today on Earth. I know it's very general, but not only how to move on from the trauma, but also how to live here and how to live as a part of the society, not to escape from it. Because many times when I asked you from the beginning what breathwork has given you, you said that you gave me very tangible answers. Apart from that, you found God, but the other answers were very tangible. And I don't know if you'd like to talk a little bit about that. So like how breathwork helped you to achieve your goals, what was important to you, how it all started, and why do you recommend it? Why do you teach it?
That's a big question, Jasmine. But it's really on the button with what I'm interested in and what I'm why I'm trying to put this work out into the world. So I guess just to back up, before I discovered breathwork, I did a lot of meditation since very young, since about 15 or 16. I got myself a Teach Yourself meditation book for some reason. I just went to a shop and bought one and started learning to meditate. And I did that right the way through my teens into my 20s. And I had some very interesting experiences meditating into these very focused states. But I hit a point in my early 20s where I remember sitting in a really, sort of highly focused, concentrated place and just thinking and actually saying, oh, this is too easy. I need some hardship in my life. Yeah.
Did you achieve your enlightenment back then?
Yeah. And be careful what you wish for, because it was really soon after that I started hitting depression. Really soon. That's when things started to really unravel for me. And I had many, many years of like depression and trying to resolve that, and lots of years of therapy. I had Gestalt therapy for 5 years, and I was doing Alexander technique, and I was exploring Reiki, and I was doing yoga and Qigong and lots of different things. And I sort of got out of the way of meditating, and I came back to it years later, about 2003, from a very different perspective, because for me, originally, like meditating, I was trying to get away from things. I was trying to transcend things. Trying to
sorry, what?
Transcend, to have a different experience, of like beyond earthly concerns experience.
Exactly. This is what many people look in spirituality, to escape from what feels too much.
Yeah. So I was reaching these very interesting places myself, but the orientation compared to where I'm now was different. And when I came back to meditation, it was very much about being grounded and getting into my body. That was when I reapproached it and got some really good teaching. And what I heard when I started breathwork, I started my first breathwork training in 2008. And my first teacher, which was Peggy Dillon of Sundar International, she said, "Oh, we're not humans trying to have a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings trying to have a human experience." Mm-hmm. So every other teacher and my own experiences confirmed that. So we're here to be in the body. We're here to be actually here on earth and to engage in life, not to transcend it, but to be in it. And that's really the sort of direction of travel with breathwork. It's how we can really be here. But what gets in the way of us being here is all the trauma we carry in our body. All the unexpressed trauma, all the unexpressed emotions, all the things that have impacted us from whenever.
Yes. And let me just add to this, because just today's night I had a dream or whatever, I don't know what it was. And I imagined how it is when a human being starts a journey on earth before birth and starts manifesting first in the utero as a fetus, yes, and I've realized that it is pure spirit taking form. I was semi-conscious, I was still kind of dreaming, I'm not quite sure. And I've realized that this spirit actually starts inheriting from this very beginning, when it starts taking shape, starts having a body, and the body builds up, and there's a heart and brain and all the limbs and everything, and digestion system and lungs and everything. So it incorporates into this body all the what we call genes, which is really the information. Yeah. So when we talk about inherited trauma and the trauma that we gathered through our lifetime, it's really like it's way back, not like our ancestral line, but also I would say just being a human being and just being a living organism. The information is straight out there. But I had this really strong feeling that it is a spirit coming into the body. It's not the other way around. So I fully understand, I imagine, fully understand what you're saying when you said we are spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around.
Yeah. So that was a big turnaround for me, and what we're experiencing just now, or a lot of people are experiencing just now, is, a kind of acceleration of healing that seems to be going on. Yes. So, you're talking about how we live here on earth. And, at one obvious level, the way we're working and relating to earth isn't really working. Doesn't seem to be life supporting. Yes. Now, there may be a bigger picture, of course. It may be perfectly in alignment with the way things are supposed to be being. But one interpretation is, we're not really living in harmony with nature. We're not living in a cultural story that really works. It seems to be at odds with life. And, it's no surprise really that we're experiencing anxiety, we experience stress, we experience trauma, just because the actual way we live here, it's not really supporting us.
Yeah.
And, we seem to be, going through a process of, everything we need to heal that's in the way of us finding a better way to relate and live here. All those things are kind of coming to the surface just now.
I would say as well, because we are taught from the young age what we are and how we should be, and we kind of are put by our culture and immediate environment into some kind of box. For example, in this society in Britain, this is a very strong box of a social class, yeah. So, or also your ethnic status and stuff, and it's very divided. The society is very divided. So you are from the early age told, and also sex and then sexual orientation, all of that, or if you are, I don't know, if you are healthy according to the understanding of what health means, or you are disabled according to our understanding. So you are put into this framework, this is actually an interpretation already of what you are, but you start believing that interpretation from an early age, and then you kind of become an actress or an actor trying to live that and live up to that box that you were put into. And then when something's not working, you don't feel happy, or some life events come in and you can't deal with it, or somehow you feel different, that you can't make up to those expectations of what a person of your age, ethnicity, gender, social class should be like. For whatever reason, you are like hitting the wall and you don't know what to do. And some people just get, they go into drugs or alcohol, or I don't know, addictions, different addictions, or they try to do something, some commit suicide, and some somehow, or the same sometimes, at some point want to try a different way. And now there's many people trying to find a different way. And I would say, first of all, maybe we don't know that, but in my experience, it was a way of finding out who I was. I thought it was dealing with trauma, I thought it was to find the happiness, but today I can say it was really a search for myself.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, the trauma, the things that we sort of encounter in ourselves. So this isn't working in my life, I'm in pain in some way, or I'm suffering in my life or somewhere, or, there's something not really in alignment, not working for me. And, so initially we're drawn towards solving that. It's like, why do I feel blocks in my heart or blocks in my body? Why do I not feel connected to myself? Why do I have difficulty in a relationship? Very practical life things. So we're kind of driven to resolve those, but the resolving of those is what brings us closer to ourselves, because the traumas separate us from ourselves. So when we get traumatized, we're shutting part of ourselves away. We can often disassociate from, a whole part of our personality. But there's an experience that we've put away and suppressed. So we're always looking to be whole. We're always looking to be more in connection with ourselves or with spirit. So it's these symptoms, the symptoms of the trauma in our life, that drive us to search and find a solution. So we do that, and we find different ways of healing. Breathwork's one way. There's all sorts of ways.
Yeah, and I think that sorry to interrupt you, I think not everyone would admit that they've been through trauma. What is your definition of trauma? Because many people think it must be something very tangible and they need to know when it happened and blah, blah, blah. But is there another way to know that you've been traumatized?
Well, I don't remember going looking for trauma. I don't think we go looking for, let's find an old trauma we need to deal with. I mean, what trauma is a reaction. So we experience something in life, and either we can handle it there and then, whatever that is, whatever severity that is. If we can handle it and process it there, fine. If it's too overwhelming for us that we can't deal with it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that's the trauma. So it's our reaction. It's not really an event. There's various events that are generally traumatic.
I would say that many people hold that in their bodies without knowing it. Like I remember for myself, I used to live in my head and I didn't know about that because I didn't feel connected with my body. I didn't feel my body from the inside. I felt only my head. So I didn't know any better. I didn't know that it is like that. This is all I knew. And slowly when I started reconnected with my body to the point when I started feeling it from the inside, the whole of my body, then I've realized the difference. But many people don't know. And they think that trauma is like because you had a car accident or somebody, I don't know, you were beaten by your parents or you were sexually abused. And they're like, no, I had a happy childhood, nothing happened. I don't know. And they say, I don't know what's wrong with me. They don't even know they hold tension in their body, that they hold some frozen emotion. They don't know it. I would say so.
Yeah, that's true. Probably for all of us. We hold things in our body. We're humans. That's what we do. We don't process everything that happens to us, so we stash it away in the body, and that's fine until we get to a place in our lives where things aren't working for us, and then we have to start, working our way through that and finding a better way of doing things. And just to come back to your sort of proposition there, that it's not really about healing trauma, it's about finding out who you are. And that's what that's what these processes do. Like, you know, you work through the trauma, but actually it's through that process that you do awaken to a fuller experience of who you are. And, you know, for some people, a more spiritual connection, just through the trauma is like a gateway. You know, there's a sort of a lost connection in ourselves because of the trauma. And when we resolve that and integrate it, I never use the word release because we're not really wanting to release the parts of us that are locked up. It's about integrating and becoming more whole. And, you know, and feeling more connected. And the more we do that, the more we feel connected to life, the more we are connected to who we are. Because what happens is the spirit can't really sit in the body so well when we're full of trauma and all these unresolved experiences. But when we do that, the spirit can really inhabit the body. So we're more alive, we're more present, we feel
be alive in the body.
Yeah,
in
that's
all the
right.
parts of the body. Yeah,
that's right. You know, we're able to really be here.
Life, because when you, in my experience, when you open up towards all your parts of yourself, and that is, like you said, very like bodily process. So you start experiencing your body really, like every single part the way it is. Simultaneously, the world responds to it, and you start having different experiences in your life. So basically, it might be sometimes quite shattering because the old ways are dying. You know, friends, job, everything that didn't serve you, who you were, who you really are, didn't serve you who you really are, but served you who you thought you were, that falls away. You are reborn. And that might be a very difficult experience as well, because you had this idea how it's going to be looking like, the change, you know, the transformation, blah, 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 and it's still messy. And I think at that moment, really, your intuition and faith really guides you, that you start feeling better from the inside, even though your world kind of falls apart. You might for some time, there's nothing new reborn, or it doesn't look like it on the outside. Is it your experience too?
Yeah, I like the word messy. I mean, what happens is we think, right, I really want to change, but we don't really want to change. You know, we don't want to change. We don't want parts of our personality to die off and change our lives. You know, we just want to change. And one of the first things I noticed really quickly with breathwork, you know, I had this when I was receiving sessions from someone. I had this idea that I'd go into this, you know, room and do my breathwork sessions, and I'd come out and, you know, I just got into my life and all the change would happen in the room, but it didn't. It all happened in my life, and my life started changing. And you thought, oh my goodness, you know, things are happening here, actually changing in my life tangibly. Yes. And you know, that was uncomfortable for a good couple of years.
Say more about that. Say more, like, if you can. What actually happened? How did you feel about that? Why wasn't it easy?
One of the hardest things for me was I didn't know where I was going. I was trying to find a direction in my life. You know, I'd reached this point in my life where, you know, things just weren't working for me. That was, you know, what, back in 2008, so 13 years ago, you know, things, I realized my life wasn't working. Things had to really change. And you know, I was desperately trying to find a new direction, but it just wasn't happening. You know, I would constantly think, oh, this is the way, and it wouldn't. And it just wasn't a rational process. I was having to really, really eventually like tune in, you know, become much more intuitive. That was the result of it all. Like, I still don't know what's happening in my life. You know, I don't really know what I'm up to, but I trust the unfolding of it now.
Doesn't look messy from the outside, I'd say.
It's not messy anymore, but it was, you know, I mean, I remember walking around Edinburgh, like crying my eyes out. I was just getting thrown about by all sorts of experiences. Like you know, for me, I call it an initiation. You know, that's what I think I experienced for a few years. You know, breath work was my route, and I would call it the breath as the spirit, but the initiation where, you know, a spirit or the universe comes along and basically gives you a good shake you know, and reorientates you. And I didn't know what was happening at the time, but I was having, like, all the traumas that were in me were being brought up, not just through breath work, but through everything I was doing. Like, experiences were knocking me about all the time. The things I was doing, there there was no separation between what I was thinking and feeling in the outside world. There was this complete reflection going on all the time. It was very alarming.
Almost like if you were in a different state of consciousness all the time.
I was. It was very. It wasn't grounded at all. It was very. It was like almost been kind of reshaped over a few years. And I was doing things. I kept on like doing courses and all the rest of it, but I was never doing them for the reason I thought I was doing. There was always a healing was going to go on through whatever I engaged in.
How did you manage on a physical level? Like, did you have a job? Did you have a flat? Did you manage to pay your bills, or were you just like homeless?
Well, I'd sold my business. I had a flat. I had a flat, and I had another flat. I'd bought one, and I actually bought a third one, and I had a house in Culin.
Wow!
And
despite all of that,
I sold. I owned the house with someone else. We sold it, and then I'd sold my business, not for a huge amount of money, but I had enough money to live on for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. But I was really like, I hated not working. I hated not knowing what I was doing. I hated not having things to do. I mean, I really got myself into a place where, I was used to, having a really busy life, running my tour company. And all of a sudden I didn't know what I was doing in my life. Really didn't. And that was very destabilizing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find what I was doing for quite a few years.
Did you have any friends at that time, or did close relationship also follow?
A lot of friendships fell away. Yeah.
Exactly.
I was very isolated.
Yeah. This is how it feels. And I think many people know that place.
It was really hard. I remember I was in tears a lot. And not on my own, just when I was out there in the world, I was having these sort of repeated breakdowns. And it wasn't comfortable. And when you don't really know what's happening, which for me now as a breathwork teacher, like, when you see that happening in someone else, at least you can give them a bit of support and tell them what's going on. It's like, I know that place. I know what you're going through. I know it's really uncomfortable.
To me, the good metaphor, very that comes to my mind is the image of caterpillar becoming a butterfly. The old world is all the caterpillar knew. It doesn't know what it's gonna become. It's like transformation, but it's everything is changing, including the senses. It's gonna be from closed to open up. It could only crawl before, now it's gonna fly soon. But to get from one to another, it's not the outer change, it's the inner change. The whole body of this creature is changing. I wonder how the caterpillar actually feels about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like we know what we're experiencing isn't in alignment with who we want to be. There comes that point in our life where, we're, like you say, all our conditioning and everything we're trained ourselves to be and agreed to be doesn't work anymore. And it's like, but we don't know where we're going. We just know we want to change. And, it's that emergence that's really uncomfortable, because you don't know where you're actually going to end up. And for me now, it's like, to all my old friends that I kept in touch with, that I've maintained contact with them. I mean, I'm pretty much the same, but I'm not, because I'm happy.
And that's actually the good guide, isn't it? When you start catching yourself that you become happy without a reason, really, the outer reason, that you start enjoying your experience the way it is. To me, that was my best inner guide, that I'm going the right direction when things were shifting and looked pretty much messy on the outside, but I knew something is good because I felt good. That was the only reason that I knew that the things. But then the world started responding, and the things on the outside started changing too. But I knew that they're coming from me, not from the outside, without me owning them. Really, it was happening by itself.
Yeah.
But there's also something else that I think is important to say about, and I heard it from one of my favorite Polish national psychotherapists. She's called Kasia Miller, and she's in her 70s, and she's a very she educates really the nation, I would say. But she said in one of her videos that when you go through this deep change in your life, she's a psychotherapist, at some point you start having setbacks. And it's really important to remember that they're not gonna last. It's like the development goes like on a spiral. So like at some point you're going down. Remember, it's only to gain the momentum to go even higher than you were before. Not higher in a means meaning the mood, yeah, but in your development, or let's say becoming a butterfly. It's gonna be this times when it seems like it's getting worse again, and then it's only temporary. You need to kind of hold to your faith at that moment. Somehow it's like this dark nights of the soul again. You have to find a little faith, a little hope, something that will, I don't know, what's your experience of it?
You need something to aim for. You know, you need to, what got me through the things I needed to get through was, really wanting to be with the woman I'm now married to. That was a really like powerful, soul motivation because I wanted to be with this person.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that at first, but it's like, and unless you've got a strong motivation, I think it's very hard to work through the things you need to do.
You wanted to get better because of her?
Well, I didn't say get better because of her, but to enable me to get to where I am now, which is, married to this lovely woman, and living the life I've got, which is pretty simple, but I enjoy it. I had to work through a lot of different things.
Yeah.
There was two motivations for me. One was like a new career, and the other was
the loving relationship, romantic relationship.
Yeah. But beyond that, it was like, for me, the search for, realization and God and spirit and all that's the looking for that connection. And just, keeping going when you hit things that are hard. It's like constantly finding a motivation for yourself. Because if you don't have something that you really want to move towards, it's very tricky, I think. But that was just my experience.
Yeah, for me, it was more abstract than that. I didn't have a specific goal at the darkest time. It was only some pull towards life. So there were two. One was, and I think we can speak about it a bit too. So there's like, even Freud spoke about it, there's like urge to die and there's an urge to live, to be alive, yeah? And at some point, one needs to take over. And it's not, I think it's not fully within our power to choose this. For me, this urge to stay alive, to keep on going, I felt like I was carried. I didn't choose it. I really wanted to live, but if it was bigger than me, what decided for me to stay alive during my darkest times, I don't know. I'm really grateful because I know that it wasn't within my power to choose to stay alive. I was suicidal.
Yeah, I think that's good to notice, the life urge and the death urge. Leonard Orr, who founded Breathwork, talked about that a lot, the death urge. And, it's that movement towards life, more into life, constantly moving into life and letting go of those parts of us that want to get in the way. And part of that for me, again, was like totally facing death. Like going through experiences of death. And you realize that, what stops you living fully is your fear of dying, basically.
That's true.
We're scared to live because we're scared to die.
Because it's being scared of losing control.
Yeah.
In my experience, it's being scared of losing control.
Yeah.
Because if you are alive, well, like in reality, we don't have control. And that's very tricky. It's a paradox because, of course, we want to have goals and we want to achieve them. At the same time, we don't have control over what will happen in a second. If we're going to be alive in a second, we can't control it. We can't control when we're going to die and how. To me, it's like surrendering to the flow of life. But then the paradox is that we are also having a power to make choices and to strive for our goals. And that's really tricky, walking on this earth as a spirit that has the body that can die in a second.
Yeah, so we better make the most of it while we're here.
Exactly. And once I've realized that, actually a tremendous joy came to me that I'm alive. I started opening my eyes and looking how much beauty there is around me. I realized it's gonna be gone. I will not experience it again. And also the change that is happening, that whatever is happening, I know that it won't be here in a second. It will be different.
Yeah.
And that brings me really a lot of joy. Uh, not sadness anymore, gratefulness.
Yeah,
That
gratefulness.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the place to be.
But
You
it's
know,
not a constant thing, I have moments of anger, despair, sadness, but it's different now because there's not that control. So there's acceptance. It's deeper than acceptance. It's almost like welcoming them. It's like, okay, this is another expression of me, and that I'm gonna express myself. Actually, allowing myself to express myself in every given moment brings a lot of joy too. So there's this letting go of control there. Might look very weird on the outside sometimes because it's like, for me, it's like breaking through the rules that society is telling us how to behave, how to walk, how to look, how to behave, everything, it's like you're just becoming loose a bit, it's like, oh, whatever. What is your experience of that?
well, we
Losing
have to.
control, or losing the idea that you have control, losing the illusion.
Well, it is a paradox because one thing I always emphasize is that we're co-creators.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely manifest.
Yeah.
That definitely happens.
Mm-hmm.
Is that entirely down to us? We're co-creators. We have an influence. Of course, we have an influence. We're definitely creating a reality. Look what we've created.
Yes.
In this world, all the things that we do create.
And taking responsibility for that on a personal level and then collective level, without taking responsibility, we won't be able to move any further.
Yeah, you have to
Really.
take entire responsibility for
Yeah.
your life, which is a hard one,
Yeah.
especially talking from a place of privilege and okayness is like, but for me, that responsibility is when things aren't going so well, and the
Mm-hmm.
tendency is we want to blame something outside of us,
And demand. We
demand.
think
But
that
actually,
we
it's
have
like if you
right
can
to
take
demand.
if you can take complete responsibility, then it's a very empowering place to be. At
It's
least to your
empowering, but like you said, it's very tricky because, of course, there are those roles that we are used to play, like being a victim or being a perpetrator, and they kick in again and again, and you need to kind of deal with it in yourself somehow. When they kick in and they want to blame others and they want to punish others for not giving you what you want.
Yeah, definitely. That comes up often. But, we're human beings and we
Yeah.
carry a lot of conditioning. So, we talk about condition, we get condition as
Mm.
our family, our upbringing, our birth, our society, being a human, all the
Yeah, and
conditions that we
again,
carry.
that's yeah, sorry. Hmm.
And, part of the work really for me is how we let go of that conditioning. So we let go all those sort of constructs we carry in our mind about how we need to be or how we should be and how things are, and we
Hmm.
create a new way of being for ourselves. It's like the more you can let go of that inherited conditioning and
Hmm.
you choose who you're going
That's
to
the
be.
freedom there.
That's
I
the
think
that's
Osho
the
spoke about it a lot, what does it mean really to be free and how this is the same as loving. What is really love, like love and freedom comes together. There was something I wanted to say. Aha. Like when you said about letting go of those conditioning, I don't remember who said that. There's this quote. I know that was Marion Woodman. She's a Jungian psychologist. She was a Jungian psychologist, and she said you need to forgive yourself for being only a human being.
definitely.
And yeah, when you said about this, that we are the spirit having human experience, yeah, I think there won't be ever a time when we will be able to let go of all of that. We are incarnated or whatever, manifested as human beings. We always will carrying human stuff with us, but the way we relate to that stuff, like you said, it's not releasing, it's changing your relationship with it, integrating it, being in touch with it, being connected, first of all, without judging it, being present with it, and just having a connection. And then you start having a connection with everything and everyone, because there's no difference really. You start having compassion, you start having understanding. The judgment falls away. And then again kicks in.
Yeah, it's all about self-compassion for me. Often people come into, whatever healing modality you want, and you want, to be rid of something, or, rid of this feeling. And actually, we just really need to have compassion for ourselves. I mean, we're always going to be on a journey of learning, growing, discovering, going through human experience and the ups and downs and the emotions. That's always going to happen. And it's like having compassion for ourselves, whatever we're going through and whatever our experience. We are the way we are. And,
and I think
it's accepting that.
Yeah. Compassion, acceptance, and also, in a way, allowing this vulnerability. Because, when we want to be co-creating and manifesting and change our life, and finally we start feeling that, things are shifting in a good direction, but we can't get rid of our vulnerable side. We can't. This is a human side. This is not only a human side, this is an every living being side. You are fragile. It's easy to hurt you. This is the way it is. On a physical and psychological level, it's easy to hurt you. And, you won't be always feeling powerful in every moment. And what does it really mean to be powerful? Does it mean that you are free from being able to be hurt?
No, it means deeper and deeper vulnerability.
Say more, please.
Well, the more open you are, the more vulnerable you're going to be. I mean, obviously, you're more resilient as well. The more you know about yourself, the more you are compassionate towards yourself, the more connected you're on yourself. You've got resilience there, but actually emotionally, if you're going to be an open human being with an open heart and, work through these layers of defense that we all carry, you can imagine the strongest ones on the outside, really obvious, and you release them and you get closer and closer to the heart. And so it's more and more vulnerable. So you got to be willing to be vulnerable to connect.
Do you have then a choice? Do you feel you have like a choice which parts in any given situation you show? Because this is how our defenses are built up. We want to have a choice over what we show to others.
I don't know about choice. I think a lot of these things are quite not automatic, but we have our own habits. And in the moment where we're reacting, it's quite difficult to have choice. But we can set a sort of intention about how we want to be, and clear whatever we need to in ourselves to be more open or be more vulnerable or be in a different way when we connect to others.
What kind of intention, for example?
Well, just say you're in a relationship with someone and you say, I want to be more connected. I want to feel more sharing or more connection or more generosity, or whatever it is you want to manifest. So you're going to have to clear up in yourself anything that gets in the way of that. That's your job, And
say more. What can get again in the way of that in yourself?
Oh, well,
but in a person.
Any experience you've had that means you're scared to show yourself. I mean, this goes back to, infancy and really early patterning. It's like,
show how you really feel.
If you had a relationship with a caregiver where it felt unsafe in some way, it felt unsafe to receive or to express yourself, you're going to carry that for a long time. And these sort of patterns are they're visible in our life, but we don't really know where they come from. But they can go back so young. And this is the thing, it's like the more we open we're really touching these really early experiences in ourselves where we, first came into life. We might have from our birth a script that says, oh, the world is hostile or unwelcoming. That was our experience in birth.
Oh yeah, I mean, like birth can be so traumatic, even just the way it's designed. At least I was born in the 80s. You were born even before me, and the light, the temperature, the hands that hold you. This is somebody's job, and they might have problems or being tired or not being able to be present with you as a newborn baby, and they put you on a scale. And you feel that. And why do we forget that? Because it was so difficult that we couldn't even hold a conscious memory of it, but our body remembers.
Yeah, our body carries it.
Yeah, and so often we were separated from the mother straight away. The limbical cord was cut off. Basically, often babies are having, I don't know if it's the thing that you do in Britain, but in Poland, babies would have like how do you say, like you would keep them in a bum so they can take first breath, like I mean, what's that? Like, it's why we think that this baby won't be able to breathe on its own if we don't give it like a hit in his or her bum. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, things have changed, thank goodness.
But I was born in the 80s. In the middle of winter in a communist Poland. I mean,
yeah, so we carry that experience, that's a relationship to life, our first breath, being scalped or turned upside down, whatever it is that happened. And, you're carrying that in your body. And that's influencing how you relate to the world.
It's not safe to be here.
That's right.
The information.
That's a script for a lot of people. Not safe to be here. Don't want to be here. And
want to escape, take me away. Yeah, save me. Need a savior.
Yeah, well, we have to become our own saviors. That's the journey.
Yeah, and in our culture, we are told that the reason for the ways we feel is outside, and if we change the outside circumstances, for example, find a partner or a better job, we'll find it that we feel better, and eventually find out it's not possible.
Well, there's always there's a dynamic between the internal and external. So it's not like we sit in a room and we clear up everything we need to, then we go and relate to the world as a perfect human being. We have to do it in life, so we have to move towards things and actually participate and clear up what we need to along the way. That's the way to do it. We can't just do it in isolation. We need to, participate, and that participation is what brings us, in touch with what is difficult and what we need to address, and then we can work with it, and that helps us participate better, helps us relate better.
It's a hard journey, Noah. It's really hard. I mean, like, wherever you find yourself in your life, and you see how much you've done, and you can be grateful for yourself, and celebrate your success. Still, you can see very clearly and very quickly, life will show you all the things where actually you still have work to do. It's tiring sometimes. Maybe not tiring, but sometimes you can become disheartened a bit. It's like, where's that place? Where's that Holy Grail? I've done so much. It's still not here.
Well, the Holy Grail is right here. That's the thing.
Tell me more about the Holy Grail.
We have to embrace all the challenge. We have to embrace all the difficulty.
Give me an example, John Paul. Don't be such a smart ass.
I'm not being a smart ass. It's true.
I'm joking. Give me an example, like when you say the Holy Grail is here, but for a person, it can be abstract, even for a person who's struggling, let's say, with money and whatever, they going through a divorce, or they lost a child, or whatever, something's difficult happening, or they have a diagnosis of cancer, their parents died, or they're just dying. People always go through hard times. There's always times when maybe there are a few years that are better, and then something happens and it's very difficult. And now you come and you say there's a Holy Grail here. Please say more about that.
Well, if we think it's somewhere else, that's the problem. You see, for me, is like, the Holy Grail is how present can you get to what's happening right now? Like, can you really accept it? can you fully accept what's happening?
How do you mean accept? I don't like the word, but I'll let you
Like, be
elaborate.
with it, feel it.
Mm-hmm.
We experience something that's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Can we really be with that? Can we really feel it? Like, feel the emotion, feel the sensation in your body.
Mm-hmm. Can you really experience this?
To
Yeah.
really,
Not
really
put
experience
the
whatever's
block.
happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like one of the things I went through was like a lot of grief.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about that time from like 10 years ago is like, well, that was really destabilizing, but it was really rich. I mean, some part of me sort of misses that. There was so many interesting things happening. I mean, it was emotionally difficult, but it was very interesting. But I mean, I went through really deep grief.
Mm-hmm.
And we avoid these emotions, but actually when you can really feel something properly, I mean, it's a rich place to be. It's
Yeah,
really, really gutsy and
that's
rich.
true.
It's not painful. I mean, it is painful, but it's really good,
Yeah.
But the problem is we're scared of the emotions. We're scared of the experience. And
Because it's
that's where we
very
create
intense
difficulty.
and we don't feel that we can contain it.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like if you don't develop the strong container, you're gonna get crazy because you need to be grounded. And when you are a baby, your caregiver is a container, so you learn that it's safe to feel. Now, when they cannot be a container for you, and we need to maybe explain it that they cannot stay present with your emotions without being triggered by them. So they can't be calm and offer the soothing touch and soothing maybe voice or soothing whatever what they offer to you to calm down, to process and to experience this difficult emotions. So you don't know how to do it, and then the culture, of course, kicks in even more when you go to school and you're taught not to cry or not to get angry, not to cry for boys or not to get angry for girls, and you learn that it's wrong to feel, and you don't know how does it feel to be safe when you are feeling this. So you're just kind of cut off, like I'm not allowed to feel it. And we think we do allow ourselves to feel it, but we don't, because when you really are present with whatever's happening in you, it's like electricity. It's like it's being fully 100% alive. So you
Yeah.
need that container within yourself. What is that?
Yeah. Well, to work through anything, we need to feel safe enough and supported enough to do that.
By who?
Depends, for me, when I went through my breathwork training, I was the first student through. There was a grand total of 2 people on the course. Now there's like 10 at a time, but I had like 2 of us. That was through 2 of my trainings. I was one of 2, and I got an
Lucky
unbelievable
you.
amount of support, a
Yeah.
huge amount of support for
Yeah.
years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really enabled me to get through things I needed to.
But
Plus
then
life
there would
is,
be time when you get off the room and you go into your life and you can you call your therapist like a mommy with when you're having a breakdown in the middle of the town?
well, I'll give you an example, Agnieszka. When I was I remember lying in my bed one day and I was feeling all this emotional pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I called my trainer up. And it wasn't to say help, get me out of this. There was none of that at all.
Mm-hmm.
We just used to chat, and I was
Mm-hmm.
okay about what was happening, but I just didn't know how to work with it at all. I didn't know how to approach it. I just had all this kind of emotional pain going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he got on the phone and he was like, John Paul, look at you lying in your bed. Oh, I'm in so much pain. Da da da. He's totally laughing
Really
at me.
was he kind of laughing?
And actually what happened was and I was really like, trying to accept it and work with it. But what happened was I had this flatmate who was only there for about 10 days. It was just someone who was staying in the flat, and they emailed me this little story
Mm-hmm.
that just totally triggered something, like, instant grief. That was the thing that kind of popped the emotion for me. And out of that came a lot of insight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's sort of, the support can come from really unexpected places,
Yeah.
in life when you need it.
Yeah, and I think that at some point you kind of start seeing that it's always here, that you just didn't see it before.
Well, it is because, and this is one book I always recommend is Michael Brown, The Presence Process.
Which one?
Michael Brown, The Presence Process. When you do that, you realize that life is constantly being arranged for your benefit. Even if what you have to experience is painful, it's being arranged for your benefit. So circumstances are constantly manifesting for you to learn what you need to learn.
Please elaborate on what do you mean by benefit in that context? It's a thing that must be clarified.
Yeah. So by benefit, so someone does something, it triggers you massively. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you go into a place where you need to go through an emotion that you've held in your body for like 40 years. It comes through a really, really simple act. That person who is triggering you is completely innocent of what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing consciously, but they do it and it triggers you and they've performed their function and they move on. I mean, that's what I mean. So it's like,
it's very painful because you'd like to punish them or blame them or do whatever. You feel attached. You are like, he has done it or she has done it. Therefore, if I fix them, my emotions will go away.
Yeah, but they're doing you a favor. They're doing you a huge favor. They're making you come face to face with something yourself. Very tricky to do, because we always want to, blame someone else and all that kind of thing. But that's really what happens. So life has always been organized for our benefit. But again, that's just a position that helps me take responsibility.
So when you say this benefit, you mean like becoming more aware of what's in us and integrating it?
Yeah, being more and using your circumstances, having the awareness to say, oh, this is happening. This is interesting. This is really painful. How interesting. I wonder what's happening here.
So John Paul, would you say that you still don't know where your life is going now?
I never know where my life is going. I know where I want it to go.
Sorry?
I know enough that I want it to go in certain directions. But I'm constantly surprised. So
how they change.
This year I entered I started a business coaching program to help me in my breathwork business. And, that's really advanced, my breathwork. But actually what happened with designing the program is my songwriting really developed as well.
What songwriting?
My songwriting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Because you are a musician as well. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to write occasional songs, but I've been, they're just coming out all the time just now. And it's like, I had no idea that was on the horizon a year ago. No idea.
Yeah.
It's been a lifelong journey of, playing music, but, to find yourself, writing and performing music, it's like, oh, this is really great. I'm really enjoying this part of my life.
That's great.
I have these ideas of what I want to create, but often something else kind of unfolds.
Yeah. And I think it's important not to beat ourselves up when we have this goal in our mind and we're trying to work towards it and, and also work on ourselves to become more aware of our shortcomings and our strengths and our talents, but also what stops us and blah, blah, blah. And somehow at some point you realize, is it even my goal? Do I really want it? Something else happens and you're like, actually, I'm enjoying this. And, that's sometimes so confusing for the mind because we are really told how to live our life. And it's a very deep conditioning, that you should follow logic. You should be rational. That this is this, that you should follow steps in this way. There's so many ideas we were given and we bought what life should be like, what a good life is like, what does it mean to have a meaningful life, what does it mean to be alive. Everything is an interpretation until we actually start expressing it in a different way, not from the mind, not from the interpretation, not from the words really, and a story.
Well, we have to create our own story because we're always living inside a story. So it's like, what story do you want to write for yourself? What story do you want to create? You know,
And
because we're living in a
how do you know? How can a person know what they want to create? Really? How to find out?
well, you might be in a place in your life where you don't know what you want to create. So the first thing to create is some clarity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, okay, I just want to get
Mm-hmm.
clear about where I want to go. I want to be, or whatever I'm doing, I just want to feel good. Like I want to feel contented. I want to feel fulfilled. I don't really mind what I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my direction. I want to feel fully alive.
Mm-hmm.
I need to worry about filling in all the dots.
Yeah.
But we can start to point ourselves towards, because a lot of the time people are very good at saying what we don't want. Well, this is what I don't want. I don't want this and I don't want that. What do you want? Well,
Yeah,
actually,
like we're saying we're unhappy about this and that. Like, for example, I don't know, you buy a new house and you're like, I'm unhappy about this and that and that. We have this kind of, I think, programming in our mind biologically to look for what's wrong in order to fix it. Now, many coaches say you need to start resetting your mindset and see what you are grateful for, what's working for you, to get more of that instead of creating all the time the negative side, like, because you focus on it, so therefore it grows.
yeah, gratitude's a wonderful thing. Definitely.
We've done 55 minutes, and I wonder if there's something that you'd like to say more of that we didn't cover. I know we can't cover everything, but that's even better, I think, because that wouldn't be right.
I think it's all about trust, Agnieszka. Just trust that you're going the right way. You know, trust that we're going the right way. So on one level in the world, you know, it's like, you know, there's so many things happening that are, you know, alarming, losing, you know, species from Earth all the time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of loss there, a lot of grief.
Yeah.
But you know, and we need to discover the truth in ourselves as how we participate in a way that is more kind of life-giving. But you know, the direction, you know, we just have to trust the direction. We have to trust that where we're going is a good way, you know. We have to trust that life is leading us in a positive direction, even if it seems terrible. You know, we're definitely
actually,
hitting
one more thing
something.
comes to my mind when I'm listening to you, and I think that we briefly tried to touch on it. So when you said that we are co-creators, and now you're saying that we need to trust that life takes us, in the right direction. There's this paradox again, or a tension, so between taking this responsibility for where your life is going and letting go of the idea how it should be like.
Yeah, just trusting. I mean, being creative, getting clear about what you want, you know, what you want to contribute to life, what you want to bring to life. That's the journey, isn't it? And you know, you have to follow your own truth in that, your own impulse. But that's part of a bigger story, isn't it? It's part of we're part of life, we're part of the unfolding of life, and we don't know where that's going. We don't know what the planet's plan is. You know, do we know more than the planet? I doubt it very much. It probably has a really good plan. You know, we've lived through extinction events before.
Granti, who's a spiritual teacher, said that actually what we don't realize in every given moment, that the truth of it all, that we are a piece of a rock in the infinite universe, and we're sitting on that piece of a rock just now. It's spinning, like the part of our galaxy, it's in the constant movement, and we are on Earth, which is actually a piece of rock. I mean, we try to get on with our life and we have like an idea how it should be like, but have in your mind that you are just sitting on that piece of rock in the infinite universe, And then that changes a bit your perspective, doesn't it? You know what I mean? There's a bigger picture to it, to our idea of how our life, my individual life should look like. We're really focused on, me, my life.
Yeah, but I think that's okay. You know,
I don't mean it's wrong, but it's sometimes good to have that perspective, like you said, that there's Earth that has its own way, and we are on Earth. and we're part of it. And there's like change of times, transformation happening on the planet with many people. And also, maybe there are beings that we are not sometimes aware of that also exist, and they also maybe heal. We don't know really what's happening.
We don't. That's true.
So trust and not knowing.
Yeah, definitely.
John Paul, thank you so much. I think we're gonna finish here.
Okie dokie. My pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining my podcast. You are the first guest, really. So I'm really grateful, and thank you for your time and for your sharing. And I found it really valuable that I could met you. We've met 2014, and yeah, that to me, like what you bring is really the being honest, but honest from this kind of level when you are just yourself, and that's the value you bring, because I know I can trust what you're saying. I can't see a hidden agenda in you, and to me that's a big value. And all your journey, what you have to share, because it doesn't come from the theory, from the books, but from your own life. And that's what I found really valuable. And I'm very happy you joined this podcast, because I hope that people will hear it, listen to it, watch it, and I really hope that it will bring someone some hope and idea of that all is well and things will be taken care of in a good way. Because yeah, that is how it ultimately is, but we so often forget about that.
Thanks, Agnieszka. My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye just now.
Bye.
See you later.
See you later. Okay, so I'm gonna cut it there.